Hey folks, David Stewart here. So Blizzard announced just recently, like today or yesterday, that they're going to be bringing back Classic WoW, and this is apparently not an April Fool's joke. They're going to have Classic WoW servers, vanilla WoW servers that serve the original 1 to 60 content of World of Warcraft. And I wanted to announce that, let you know I will probably be playing it in some capacity, even if I'm not able to commit time to like play it at the capacity I want, like raid and that kind of stuff. You'll probably see me online there at some point. I think this is a great decision. I think it's a decision that needed to happen. I think there's been a lot of demand for it. I think if you look at the numbers for all the private servers, there's plenty of people who would want to play on a classic server, and I think a significant portion of them would be willing to pay to play on a classic server as well, and I would be one of those people. Blizzard would get my money if they opened up classic WoW servers. But of course, since this announcement, there's been a lot of the same old debates we've talked about on this channel, and you've probably heard elsewhere about this sort of thing, that like the old version of the game, people are just looking at it with rose-tinted glasses. Well, look at all these thousands of people that go and play on the, Nostalriuses and the Chronos servers and have a great time and get to 60 in raid. Are they looking at it with rose-tinted goggles? No, you don't spend 100 hours playing something because of rose-tinted goggles. That's complete nonsense. People are playing the classic version of the game because they actually enjoy it, and I am one of those people. And I've played the live version. I played in like the Legion beta, and that was about the time I kind of decided like, no, I don't think the game's going to return to having the systems that really I enjoy interacting with. You hear the debate like, oh, this is going to take away resources from like the main game. That's not going to be true for a bunch of reasons. One of the ones is that, if you bring people in who aren't subscribed, that's just more money. That's just more money to be passed around. The other thing is that a huge portion of your sort of subscriber money doesn't just go to pay like server maintenance, like the cost of having servers on and communicating with players, but paying developers who continue to like weed out code problems and also to create all the new content that you get with World of Warcraft. You get all these new patches all the time. It's part of their cycle. Well, with vanilla, everything's already there. Like there's no more development to be done in the 1 to 60 experience. So really, if you just turn on servers and let people play and they give you money for it, you're not having to hire a whole lot of extra developers to do content. Blizzard has said that they're going to hire a separate team from the main team that's working on it now to design everything that needs to go into this set of vanilla servers or whatever they're going to do with this, which is fine. That means that they're anticipating, that it's going to end up paying for itself. So I think it's a good thing. There's lots of people who are going to be naysayers about it and say like, oh, it was so bad back then. You had to take flying paths to places. To me, most of the debates about thinking that older WoW or newer WoW was good is really just about how systems work and how they affect players. And I prefer the older systems because of the effects that they have on players and the game. The older systems, the fact that it took a long time to get places, meant that you had to really think about where you were going and why you were going there, and what you intended to do there. The more limited bag space back in the day meant you had to think more carefully about what you took with you, having to eat and drink, having to feed your pet, right? All of those things to me made the world a little more real, and also meant there's a lot more systems to manage, which meant you had to be more strategic about your play rather than just like walking out and killing things. You had to say, okay, I need to buy some arrows, make sure I could probably get some food for my pet while I'm out there, and I'll feed my pet and make sure he's happy so he can keep doing damage. If you're a hunter or whatever it is, if you're a warlock, you have to manage soul shards. If you're a healer, you have to manage reagents and all this kind of stuff. So all of that stuff was part of the game and had an impact on the game design that had that final effect. And if you enjoyed that final effect, taking away the parts of it that might have required effort or thought or even difficulty is going to change that final effect, and you have to recognize that. So the great feeling of playing vanilla WoW, of finally killing a raid boss that your guild was struggling with for a long time, that feeling, it's like, why isn't that feeling present in the new game? And it's not present in the new game because the systems are different. They've changed the systems, and by removing some of the difficulty, having to have everybody flask up was a big deal. By removing the difficulty of using things like flasks to get this like significant ability to gain power and overcome a hard challenge, that makes the final effect, that satisfaction of finally being able to beat it, makes it different or just non-existent. The idea that you had to farm out all of these resist materials with a 40-man guild, that made guilds have to operate differently. Guilds were a thing in the 1 to 60 experience, and I think in Live WoW you don't even really need a guild if you don't want to have to interact with one. And if you do, you only need a guild of like 10 or 15 people. Back in the day, you needed guilds of way more than 40 because you weren't going to have 40 people show up to any given raid night. You needed 50, 60, 70 people, sometimes more, in your guild to do what you wanted to do. Some guilds had 2 raid teams, one that was working on older content and farming that, and then one that was pushing the newer content. And then if you had attrition, you just would pull people up from the lower team. There was lots of stuff like that. So all of the way that the game ended up turning out, whether it was planned or not by the developers, was the result of the design decisions that went into Vanilla WoW. And so if you like those final outcomes, if you like the big guilds, if you like crazy forum wars, all of that's a result of the original game design to some capacity. So people that are saying, well, you know, maybe they should bring it back, but not this. It's like you're missing the point. It's like, well, I don't like having to buy arrows. It's like, it's not about you liking to have to buy arrows. It's about you having to think about it and having to think carefully about what you have in your bag and having to manage your money. All those things change the way that you operate with the game and then changes the effect that the game has on you. To me, it enhances the fun and satisfaction of the game. And the other thing is, if you're adding classic servers, it's not that you're taking away the live ones. So if you don't like the sort of more slower paced hardcore elements of the original version of the game, you don't have to play it, which is always good. There's free market will produce a lot of different options, and you've seen the semi not legal, you know, the gray market out there making private servers because there's demand for them. If there was not people wanting to play it, there wouldn't be any of these private servers, and these private servers stay on because they have the money to stay on, which means somebody who's playing on the servers is donating enough money for the lights to stay on and for that whatever team is running the server to be able to continue to do it, which is basically a point against anyone who thinks that there's going to be resources taken away from the live version of the game. Now, what I think will be interesting going on, so I'll do some predictions here. Some people are like, oh, people will go back for nostalgia and then they'll leave. Obviously, that didn't happen with private servers, and I think people would feel more secure with a Blizzard-based server, that it's not going to just get shut down by Blizzard through a copyright claim or something like that. I think there'd be a lot more secure feeling, so I think even more people might feel like they want to try it out. Maybe newer players who never played it would go back and figure out that there's quite a lot there that they enjoy, and then meet some new people that they really like. It's a much more social experience to me. But what I kind of predict, one of the problems with the vanilla WoW server is that the amount of content is finite. So you have Naxxramas, and once you get to the end of Naxxramas, that's basically the end of the party. There's nothing that comes after that other than using your Naxx gear to like wreck people in Alterac Valley or something like that. And this is kind of an interesting thought, as a lot of people farmed, I mean, I shouldn't say a lot, there weren't very many guilds who cleared Naxx. But eventually there'll be guilds that clear Naxx on this newer version of that, and then what do they do after that? After you have a significant portion of the hardcore raiding population clear the highest content, the question is, how does the server progress after that? We don't know, because Burning Crusade was released not that long after Naxx, really, because so few people managed to actually get to the end of Naxx and clear it. It's part of that Quest for Power thing I talked about in a video called Quest for Power. So I'm not sure how the server will develop post Naxx. That'll be interesting. Maybe they might do progression servers. I think that would be interesting. Once, you know, a certain percentage of the guilds clear Naxx, then you open up Burning Crusade. You have the Burning Crusade event, and you open up Burning Crusade, and then people can work on that. And once a certain number of people clear Sunwell, Sunwell was another one that just not a lot of guilds got to really work on and clear. It took so long to farm the gear from Black Temple and then learn the encounters in Sunwell. And back in the day, in order to progress in an instance, you had to be farming gear in that instance. So the gear that dropped in the instance was good. You had to put it on in order to get the slightly higher gear level to go on and get the bosses within that instance. They were big instances. So, that would be interesting to be a progression server. I know EverQuest did that, and it was I think it was pretty successful and pretty popular. So I think I would like to see that. The other thing that you could do is if you handed that Vanilla WoW project over to a development team and you said, basically, take this version of the game in whatever direction you want. You could see different content developed post-Nax for the vanilla-based content. You could have like a 10 level cap with new content, or just add new dungeons EverQuest style. I mean, who knows what direction we go in. That, to me, would be very, very interesting. Would be to see, like, what if Burning Crusade didn't have flying mounts and we never did this flying mount thing? Like, how much different the game would have been. And what if we went back here and we kept making content in this style, in this direction? What if we went with 80-man raids instead of 40? Like, what kind of decisions would a classic focused development team make in 2017, 2018, 2019 on down the line? I think that would be very interesting to see. So I'm going to play. I'm almost sure I'm going to play. So if you're interested in playing, maybe we can get something together and hang out in the game and form some friendships and have some fun. But I don't know quite what's going to happen post-Nax. That's the uncertainty, and what the server health and what the social dynamic is going to be, because a huge part of the social dynamic was built around trying to move up in these raid tiers and get to the end of the game. So anyway, leave me your thoughts down below and let me know what you think about this new fully legal version of Classic WoW. I'm actually pretty hyped about it. I hope they don't change anything significant about all of those base systems that make the game, so that it can have some of the same effects that I enjoyed from back in the day. So have a good one, and I'll see you guys next time.